This is Module 1, Stren 2 of the educational curriculum, offering the self-taught skills that create unconditional love and Einstein's solution to a sustainable world, quote, a newer way of thinking. Module 1 offers the self-endorsement skills that enable anyone to love themselves with the abundance that overflows to enrich the world. When we learn to love ourselves, we become our own best friend and traveling companion lifelong. We also own the most powerful antidepressant. Today's trend is the most powerful yet secret love creation skill, emotional self-endorsement. It consists of Part A and Part B.
Wisdom tip number 2. The most powerful self-endorsement wisdom. Good feelings stir us to continued action. Immediate satisfaction is critical to sustain the work and practice required to attain the natural rewards of virtually every important skill, viz. Getting an education, sustaining a relationship, keeping physically fit, playing a musical instrument, growing a garden, and growing our capacity for loving ourselves and others. Emotional endorsement is the main source of immediate satisfaction to enjoy the work we do now in order to attain more satisfaction later. Knowing we are doing something worthwhile is intellectual endorsement. Its satisfaction is usually weaker than emotional joy. Joining emotional endorsement to intellectual endorsement provides the most effective incentive to continue our efforts. How often have you known what you believed was wisest and preferred to do, but instead did what felt better right at that time? Get the idea? Understanding simply isn't enough. Few persons know how to emotionally endorse themselves. We get little training in this skill. You know how to say to yourself, I did a good job, or that was nice, but after you say those things, you go right on to the next worry or problem to be solved. You don't extract all the honey you can from your efforts. Yet you're probably more than well developed in the opposite of emotional self-endorsement, self-blame. When you become intellectually aware of a shortcoming, you experience guilt, shame, or embarrassment within every fiber of your being. Most are so practiced at blaming that the negative feelings come automatically, seemingly without effort or intention. Could you imagine that you can teach yourself to create feeling good with the same ease that you naturally feel guilty, embarrassed, ashamed, or depressed? You can, if you become aware of how to endorse yourself emotionally and practice doing so. Since you know how to emotionally blame yourself, you already have the skills for emotional endorsement. The problem is that you direct your emotional endorsement to others. Think of the times you've expressed yourself in such a way as to stimulate a response from your dog. You know how to get that dog to wag its tail, shake its behind, and get thoroughly excited. You've probably called forth great enthusiasm in doing the same kind of thing with a child. You've even emotionally endorsed food. Wow, look at that fantastic gooey ice cream creation. Recall the enthusiasm with which you've applauded a great musical performance or cheered for your team at a sports event. You just haven't had much direction and experience in emotional self-endorsement, in wowing yourself. The skill is there. It simply needs to be directed to yourself. Most people are familiar with directing emotional blame to themselves, but unfortunately they were taught that it's selfish to emotionally endorse themselves. One man recalled being told, praise only counts if it comes from someone else. This is one reason most of us become so dependent on what we imagine others might be thinking about us. When you do something worthwhile, i.e. your reasonable best, which is virtually always in your control, could you imagine a gala brass band marching down Main Street? Two people are carrying a banner that stretches across the whole street with streamers being tossed about, and people are cheering you from their windows? There you are, smack in the middle of the parade, smiling proudly and waving. Yep, I did it all right. It was me. Such a self-endorsement tool in your repertoire is much more likely to call forth your emotions than an intellectual flat, that was okay. Use this image and or create your own as a regular self-endorsement tool. Some people can use or develop their existing creative imagery and fantasy to initiate enthusiasm. Others find it easier to call forth feelings of joy, inspiration, and enthusiasm from prior experiences. Make a mental scrapbook of times you felt loved, got a pat on the shoulder, experienced joy, happiness, or enthusiasm. Permit yourself to call these snapshots forth to recreate similar good feelings. Combine past experience with the present creative imagery to develop the results you want. Experiment by creating your own skills in emotional self-endorsement. Try it when you wake up in the morning. What do you say to yourself when you first look in the mirror? What a hot sketch I am? Or do you presently say something else? If you are like most people who are practiced in the art of emotionally self-blaming, but are weak in emotionally endorsing yourself, apply your conscious awareness to nurture self-endorsement. Your efforts will be amply rewarded. Practice, practice, practice.